Zsa Zsa Gabor died the other day, famous for being famous, among the first. In 1980, I was doing a daily radio show, and I interviewed a man who billed himself as photographer to the stars. And he was having his 80th birthday in Palm Springs at the Racquet Club. And so I got invited, and the radio station paid for my flight down there, and they paid for a tuxedo. So I went like this. On one finger I had my tuxedo and all the accoutrements with it. The other I had my tennis equipment. And half an hour after getting off the plane, I was on the tennis court and had a wonderful afternoon playing tennis. And I went to my cottage, which is right next to the cottage of the owner of the Racquet Club, who was the famous movie star Ralph Bellamy, who played FDR famously in Sunrise at Campobello. In any event, the party was fantastic, and a lot of amazing, wonderful things happened. The funniest was that I was standing talking with a group of people, and we were all dolled up because this was this fancy party, and there were movie stars wandering around. And suddenly this guy who was a writer said, "I know who you are." And I said, "Really? Who are I?" He said, "You're life's guest." I said, "Pardon me, what does that mean?" He said, "You don't have a dime in your pocket, do you?" I said, "No, I don't." He said, "Yeah." I said, "Yeah, I was flown here for nothing. A tuxedo was given me," and so on. He says, "You're just one of these guys. You never make a ton of money, but you always live really well, and you meet really famous people," and so on. I said, "It's true. That's actually so. Even my son thinks that I am life's guest." In any event, I met, among other people, this wonderful Jewish couple, Joe and Frances Koch, and they were Los Angelinos, and they belonged to the Racquet Club, and they played tennis, and they went to all the matches at Indian Wells and so on. Well, they invited me to join them for brunch the next morning. So the next morning, I'm sitting with them in a banquette, and we're having, eggs Benny or something. And they were a delightfully crazy couple. He was a businessman, she was a housewife. And they were loud and noisy and funny. You would think they were New Yorkers, but they were actually authentic Los Angelinos and delightful people. They became very good friends. But while we were sitting there were various people floating around. And so I looked over and I saw this woman, and I turned to Joe and Frances and I said, who is that woman over there who thinks she's Ava Gabor? And they barely looked up from their eggs and went, "Ava Gabor." And of course, nobody recorded that scene, but it was reproduced in L.A. Confidential when Kevin Spacey and the big log, what's his name, who starred in Gladiator, when they confront someone at in a bar and say, "Stop pretending to be whoever, Ava Gardner or Veronica Lake or somebody," and it turns out it is Ava Gardner or Veronica Lake. So that's my Gabor story. Zsa Zsa was a trip and a half, and may she find some peace and even more glamour, whatever cloud she's on today.